Greetings, it's Gerry here. It's been a while since I've done anything with video game consoles, so I'm going to change that today. Got ourselves a Sega MegaDrive 2 unit that I bought off eBay for around about $45, and it was sold as untested, which usually is code for doesn't work, but that's okay. I can handle that. I never had one of these back in the day, so I'm very interested to take a look at one now. Now, it came with the unit, the original power supply, and it came with 4 controllers. And these controllers actually look slightly different. So there's a larger one here and a smaller one. I have no idea what the difference between the two of them is, but we'll figure that out later on in the video. And obviously, if we can get this unit working, we can test these out and repair those if they require it. I also bought a video cable to use with this unit because it didn't come with one. And because I've never owned one of these units, I don't have any cartridges. And I happened to be on AliExpress and I saw this. So apparently this is some sort of game cartridge. FlashMaster. Yeah, and so it has a cartridge slot in one end and the other end has an SD card. So I'm guessing that you can put firmware onto this and plug it in and you can play games or programs and stuff off that. So I'd like to use that and see if we can't get it up and running. Okay, so lots of stuff that we can do with this unit today. Now, if you like this sort of content, please think about subscribing to my channel or leaving me a comment, a thumbs up, any of that sort of stuff, and I will do more with games consoles if that's what people want. All right, enough of that. Let's get into it. First off, let's just take a quick look at it. So I'm actually quite surprised at how light it is. It feels a little bit chintzy compared to game consoles that I've had in the past. But I guess this was the MegaDrive 2, so it was made to a cost. Having said that, there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly fine as far as the plastics and things like that go, just lower quality than I was expecting. So what have we got here? Let's take a look. Sega MegaDrive. The model is MK1631-50. The rating is DC 10 volts. Okay, good thing I got that power supply with it, because 10 volts is quite unusual. And here's the serial number. The last digits are 83. So does that mean it's 1983? I don't know. I have to look that up. So yeah, just taking a look at it. One of the things that I can see, I don't know whether it's coming out clearly, is there is a little bit of rust underneath there. I can see, so that looks to be some sort of shielding in there that has rust on it. So that doesn't bode too well. May have been gotten wet or kept in a garage or something like that. So I'm just looking to see if I can catch the screws. So it looks like the screws are there. Don't really see any rust in there, although that's hard to tell. Let me just grab, say, one of these controllers. Oh, okay. So all of the screws have rust. See that? So I think perhaps it was stored in a damp environment. I will say that this controller, the cable is really stiff. So that's obviously, you know, with age, the plastic is stiffened up on that. Okay. Let me just take a look at this. Ah, yes, so the rust on the screws on the power supply. Okay, well, first things first, I think we should test the power supply to see whether or not it still works, because we don't want to plug it in here and have it blow it up. So that might be the first thing that we do. So I've got my Anning oscilloscope slash multimeter, which I bought in a previous video when I bought a whole bunch of test gear from AliExpress. I'll link that video in the description if you're interested in that. But first of all, we need to have a look at this. If you buy any type of electronic gear and it doesn't come with a power supply, you really need to be careful about what it is that you connect up to it. Fortunately, this has the power supply that comes with it, but I'll just read what it says here. So just double checking everything. So the input is 240 volts, 50 hertz. So that's perfectly okay for Australia. The output is 10 volts, and you can see how this little symbol here, I don't know, you see this symbol here, that's the DC symbol, a line with some dashes there. So it's going to be DC output, 10 volts, and that looks to be, I can't quite see, it says 850 milliamps. You see here, it's showing that there is a center pin positive connection. So you can see the positive is going to the center pin here. The pin being the inside of this connector here. So when we test it, we want to make sure that the positive is inside. But if you were going to find a replacement power supply because you didn't have the original one, and in case this doesn't work, we would have to match these specs. So the important specs here are it needs to be 10 volts. Right now, the 850 milliamps is like, it must at least be able to output 850 milliamps for it to work. So unlike this, if you put a 12 volt power supply here instead of a 10 volt power supply, you potentially could damage the electronics that you're plugging into it. But with the 850 milliamps, if we would put a 1 amp or a 2 amp or even a 3 amp on here, that would be fine, because what that's saying is it can supply that much energy to the circuit, and usually having the capacity to supply more current to it is not a problem. But in order for it to convert to the correct voltages, you need to supply it with 10 volts. So don't go 12 volts, don't go 9 volts, try and find a 10 volt power supply. And of course, you must make sure that the output is center pin positive and that it is DC, because there are some power supplies, not a lot of them, which are actually AC output. So they're AC input and they also are AC output. I've had guitar effects pedals and things like that which do that, and actually in the guitar effects world it's usually center pin negative, or at least it used to be. Yeah, so it's very important that you check all of these things. Now, there is absolutely no problem with finding another power supply, completely different manufacturer, made for a completely different device. If all the specs match, you should be able to use it as long as you have the correct end. If this power supply doesn't work, then I have this gadget here, which is a variable power supply that I bought for around about $20 off AliExpress, and I've been itching to use it. So I can find a power supply that has a larger voltage than 10 volts, 12 volts, but you know, hopefully something more than that. And this can set the correct voltage to 10 volts, and it can also current limit to 850 milliamps if I really wanted it to. I've been really looking forward to using this. I was hoping to do a completely different video on this, but you know, who knows where this video might end up. Now, I do have a lab power supply sitting up here, which I can also use. That's my traditional one. So that's like this. It almost has the same specs except that it is 10 times larger. First things first, let's test this by plugging it in and checking the voltage that's coming out. So that's plugged in and we're still on. So that means that it hasn't blown a fuse. Okay, so I've got my multimeter set to DC voltage. And we said it was center pin positive, so we'll put the center pin inside and the negative pin to the outside and see what we get. So we're getting 13.2728 volts. Now, that might be okay because this power supply that was provided is a transformer-based power supply. It's very, very heavy. And transformer-based power supplies often show you a higher voltage if you don't have a load on it, if you're testing the voltage without a load. By load, I mean it's not plugged into something that's consuming power from the power supply. So it's common for these things to be over voltage. The more modern power supplies are switch mode power supplies. And they are much lighter because they don't have a big transformer in it. And when you measure the voltage on those, they will be usually without a load, they'll be dead on. So I'm not necessarily worried that that's a little bit higher because it doesn't have a load on it. I wish that I had a load. I should get a load, a dummy load, and test it that way. And that way I could be 100% accurate. Or I could be 100% sure that this isn't over voltage. But I'm reasonably confident from the ones that I've seen in the past that that would be okay for this sort of power supply. If you're ever wondering how to tell a difference, it's really by weight is the simplest thing. If I was to throw this at someone's head, I'd probably knock them out, at least draw blood. If I was to throw a switch mode power supply at someone's head, it would just bounce off and they would say, why the hell did you throw that at my head? Don't do that. I don't know why I even said that. So we've tested the power supply. We think that's okay. But before I plug it in, I really want to take a look inside because of all of the rust that was on, potentially on the screws, on the controllers, and that I can see in here. Let's just take it apart and see if we can't confirm that there's nothing horrendously wrong. Okay, there's a little... What's that for? Some sort of expansion slot? Do not remove. I'll have to have a look and see what that is. Haven't done my research as usual. Want everything to be a surprise. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, so that's our 4 screws that I can see. If this doesn't come out, we'll look around to see if there are any hidden screws. But, oh, no. Wow. Not much to this. So there you go. I don't want these buttons to fall out if that's going to happen. No, they look like, the buttons look like they're secured. Excellent. So let's just take a quick look. A lot of shielding here, and the shielding has corrosion on it, but nothing horrendous. So let's get this off and see, have a look at the circuit board and see. I've never pulled one of these apart, so bear with me with this. I'm just going to feel my way around what needs to come off. Ta-da! That just comes straight off, and there we have it. So just off the top of my head, it looks pretty good as far as rust. There's nothing terrible going on there. All the traces look good. These electrolytic capacitors here are often things that go in older units. So I'm just looking for bulging ones or ones that have leaked fluid, and I don't really see anything. You can see that this PCB is PAL, which is right for Australia. And yeah, I mean, this thing is built down to a price, really. So how does that come off? There's two screws here in this, and that potentially would release this board here. Let's just remove these and see whether the PCB wants to come straight out. Put these ones to the side, they're different size. Oh yeah. Wow, that was easy. Don't make them like this today. Oh, there's a bit of a bodged capacitor there with some shiny solder indicating somebody has put that on. I don't know if that was done at the factory or not, but looking at it, I see no problems. Yeah, it's a bit dusty. Is that just dust? Yeah, it's just dust. But I don't see any leaked capacitor juice or any broken traces or any sign of water ingress or anything like that. So that's pretty great. So Sega 1993. Yeah, so I think perhaps all of that is just surface rust. There's a hair there. The DNA of maybe a factory worker trapped forever inside the unit. That looks really good. So the other thing I just quickly look at is making sure that these in the cartridge slot, that doesn't look like there's any cold solder joints. That's where the solder sort of comes out, comes away from the board, and it's not really attached to either the leg or the board or something like that. To be honest with you, it looks amazing. I'll just drop that down in there. It's not sitting down 100%. Ah, okay. Now it is. So that was just a matter of flexing that shielding, and now that's sitting beautifully in place. Excellent. So let's get this back together. That wasn't too hard, was it? I think we've successfully pulled that apart and put it back together. And I guess it's time to power it on and see whether or not it turns on. Okay, so I'm going to connect this up. I've got a controller plugged in. I've got a cable coming out. It's going into actually the monitor, which is actually a TV that I use to monitor my videos as I'm making them in the top-down view. So this cable is a composite cable, and the TV is component. So I've plugged the yellow cable into the green video in for the composite, and yeah, I'll have to just take the camera and point it at the screen, and we'll see if this works or it goes bang. And if I can manage to get a video signal and everything, I will then try and figure out a way of getting you a proper picture. But first things first. So, where's the power? Here's the power. All right, let's see if the lights turn out. What do we got? So, we have red lights and this is the screen. Do I have to turn the power on or is it already on? No, so that power was already on. Those three red lights mean that there is power, and there is absolutely no signal coming out of this baby. Does it need a cartridge in it in order to boot up? I wouldn't have thought so. So that is not a good start. So that's a failure from the start. All right, I'm just going to plug this in the cartridge. Which way will it go? It should go that way. Even though I don't even know what it does yet. Oh, hello. Huh. So it does need a cartridge to turn on? Is that right? Okay. Select a game. Play a game. Huh. Alright. I don't know whether that's normal. So nothing came up on the screen at all when there wasn't a cartridge in there. And this cartridge adapter thing apparently came directly from AliExpress with software running on it. So that's good, I guess. This controller works as well. Alright, so I think I need to go away and figure out how I can actually show you exactly what's going on while still being able to take a top-down video. Okay, so here's the plan. I've got a whole bunch of stuff here. Let me explain what's going on. I've got this very cheap HDMI video capture card. You plug that in to the USB port of your computer and it appears as a video input, and then you can take the HDMI output of your device and capture it with your OBS, the thing that I'm using to capture video. So I thought I'd begin by trying the cheapest option possible, which is this $5 composite to HDMI adapter, and we'll see if that manages to get us some sort of signal, because the signal isn't going to be great. Even if it's perfect, it's not going to be captured correctly through this thing. So that's what we've got. So we've got this little adapter is taking the component, or the composite, sorry, I always get those mixed up, component and composite. So the composite actually has all the colors coming through the one yellow cable, and then we've got left and right audio, and it's the worst of all graphics. So I think it goes composite, which is all the colors going through one wire, S video is the next best one, and then component is the next best one. But we're not interested in that now. We just want to get the capture happening. So I'm just going to plug all of these into here. So it's coming out of here into here, and then we're plugging video capture card into my laptop, and hopefully I can then get that to come through and get captured on through OBS. So just give me a second. Okay, so I have that working. Not great. I know that the HDMI capture thing stops working every now and again. I'm not quite sure what causes that, but we can see what's going on, and it's big enough for me now to see what the screen is saying at the same time. All right, I've had to play around with this MegaDrive EverDrive cartridge thing, and so I can show you how it works. So just quickly, you've got Play Game, which plays the currently selected game, which it will remember after you've turned the unit off. So that's what that does. And then selecting the game is the other thing. So if you just click on that, you can see that there's a whole bunch of directories in here that came with this unit, which appear to have bunches of ROMs and things like that in it. So what I did was I created a directory called Gerry, and I just took the SD card and over to my computer, and I copied on some stuff off the internet. So a couple of things that I want to try out. So one of them is this test suite that somebody has written. So this is public domain stuff, what I'm showing you now. The other ROMs that are on here have come from somewhere else. They're probably not public domain. But there's plenty of public domain stuff out there if you want to have a look. It appears that there's a community of people actually still making games. Even games have been released on Kickstarter and things like that. It's quite amazing. So I got some of those games and I've put them into a directory, and a lot of them are demos. So just like the old days, you used to be able to play demos and decide whether you wanted to buy the real game. But there's a whole bunch of other stuff out there. So to navigate around, it's just a matter of pressing the A key to go into a directory, a B key to go out of a directory, up, down to select a game. And if you want to start a game, so you press A to select a game, and then you can go B back and play the selected game. But you can also just go directly into the directory, and then when the game is highlighted, press the start button and it will start the game. So it appears to erase the ROM that's on this cartridge. So I guess when the cartridge boots, it's booting the menu system. Now it's erasing the menu system or part of the memory, and it's copying on the game, and then the game will start. Ah, I still suck. Okay, so also, and I guess this is the way that the console works, you can reset the game, which simply resets it, goes back to the beginning of the game, but you can't go back to the menu system because I guess that is loaded first up, and now that's gone, so you need to power off the system and power it back on for it to load the menu from here. So really that's all there is to it. There's options in this thing, and you can put in cheat codes, and there's a toolbox in here that gives you information. But it doesn't have any tools, specifically the tools that I want, because the next thing is I want to test all of the controllers that I've got. If I go down to my Gerry directory, I found this public domain utility, test suite, and we can do a whole bunch of stuff here. What I'm really interested in here is the pad tests, so the GamePads. This one has a mode button there. Cool. All right, so this controller here looks like it's working 100%. So I think next up I'm going to test all of the controllers and see how they're going. 6-button one works great. I'll plug in the second 6-button one and we'll see if that works. No, so we'll have to restart. Okay, so this is the second 6-button controller. And we already selected that utility before, so I can just go play selected game and it should remember. Yep. So we'll go down to the pad tests. Nice. So both of the 6-button controllers work. So we've got the 3-button controllers, which my research tells me that these were the original controllers that probably came with it, and the 6-button controllers came later, and the 6-button controllers are higher quality, which seems borne out. Okay, so going up and down isn't great. So I think B starts this. Okay, so we'll start with the buttons. Okay, so B button's not working. Oh, what happened there? Maybe a button is stuck down. I think the B button isn't working. Now the A button isn't working. Sorta is. Left, right, up isn't working. Down isn't working. Or down is sorta working. Start button is working. And this doesn't have another button on it. Whoops, what happened there? Okay, so that's not working 100%. Okay, so this is the final one, another 3-button one. So down is working. What am I doing? A works. B pretty much works. C works. Okay, start button doesn't work. Okay. Left works. Right works. Up works. Down works. Okay. So it's really only the start button that's not working on this one. Excellent. So, well, while we're here, we might as well have a look at these other things. So video tests. What's that about? So color bar test. Oh yes. This could come in handy later on when I'm trying this out. Audio tests. Hang on, what can we do there? Ooh. I can't really hear that. Anyway, that's something we'll get into, I guess. Excellent. So the two 6-button controllers work. The two 3-button controllers have problems. This one only seems to have a problem with its start button, so that's good. All right, time to move on to the controllers. So as you will recall, the two 3-button controllers were both faulty. So we don't know, obviously, with controllers whether or not it is inside or it's actually the wires. In a previous video I fixed a VIC-20 joystick, and it turned out to actually be the wires themselves, not internally. I'll link a video to that. These cords are usually quite easy to lay your hands on. Replacement cords, if they're, yeah, so they're a DB9 cord, and there are plenty of these type, and they even look like this. They probably won't be Sega brand, but they have this shape. I actually need to do that to that VIC-20 one because I bought one. So this one here, I wrote on it, so it's just the start button that doesn't work, and actually the start button, it feels physical, it's not pushing down. So hopefully that might be something we can actually fix. So remember, yeah, there's lots of corrosion on the screws. Hopefully that's just on the surface, and there hasn't been stuff go down into it. But let's just get all of these screws out. I'll take the first one out and let you have a look at it. Ooh, yeah. But it's just on the head. It doesn't appear to have gone through to the body. So maybe we'll be lucky. We want to pull this apart, and springs and all sorts of stuff could come flying out, so let's just try and be a little bit careful. Okay, so I just want to make sure there's nothing on there that can fall out. That's good. Well, not much to this, eh? And this is what I mean when I said that it's fairly easy to replace the cables. You just need to get a new cable, and then you can solder them onto here. So let's take a look and see what's here. Okay, so we've got these pads, which is common for these types of joysticks. I don't know, that seems to have moved over a little bit. Right, and that would be the start button. So the pad was sitting over here. It had somehow moved away from the actual physical button. You can see that, you know, it's a bit bent from being out of place and having people push down on the button and be frustrated that it's not doing anything. So that could be all that's wrong with that, if that works. So we just need to put that back into there. And put it back together, and hopefully that's all that's required. It all looks pretty good in here, but I might just give it a clean. Save us coming back in here again. So I'm just going to hold that in place and see if the start button feels better. Yep, so it's back to its proper sponginess. Now with these rusting screws, you can clean them a variety of methods. You can just clean them using a brush or something like that. You can put them in an ultrasonic cleaner. I'm going to use CLR. I'm sure people will tell me that it's too aggressive or something like that, but I find that the CLR does a great job and doesn't really seem to damage anything. So I'm going to leave that there and let that process for a little while, and we'll come back to it, and then I'll wash these screws off and we'll see how well they go. Okay, I don't have all day to wait for this. Ideally I would leave this overnight, but I'm just going to give them a bit of a clean. You can see that rust has come off. They're looking a lot better than they were. I'm sure nobody but me would have even thought to look at the rusty screws. Alright, let's try this out. So it was the start button that wasn't working, and now it is perfectly fine. Man, that was a simple fix. Excellent. So that was so easy. The other one, I don't think is going to be so easy. Let's go and have a look at that. All right, let me remind myself what's wrong with this. Up, down, A, B. Doesn't work, and don't know if you can hear that, but it's rattling. There's something loose inside. So let's have a look. I'm looking here and I'm seeing quite a lot of oxidization on the pads potentially. Yeah, so I'd say some liquid actually got into here. Everything else looks okay. I thought there was something rattling around in here. Aha. What's that? Little piece of broken plastic? Where's that come from? But it had to have come from somewhere. Oh well, let us work on this. So I'm just going to look at these pads closely. They actually don't look too bad. They're not actually rusted out. They just have a lot of surface gunk on there. I suspect somebody spilt something inside here. So we want to go pretty carefully in cleaning these. So I think we just start off with isopropyl alcohol and see what we can do. Yeah, I mean, you need to be careful because you can just ruin these in an instant. I have one of these abrasive pencils. This one is very light, so it's only got very light fibers at the end, so I don't think this is going to cause a problem. If it was actually corroded, I probably wouldn't try this, but I might just do it a little bit on, say, this one over here and just see how it looks. Oh yeah, that's doing a nice job actually. Okay, and then we'll just clean it up with some isopropyl alcohol. They're looking very shiny now. And should probably give these a bit of a clean. Okay. Well, they all feel good. So why don't we try it out? Left, right, up, down, A, B, C, start button, and it doesn't have a pause button. Nice. So it works. Fantastic. So 2 for 2. Amazing. So I just can't resist having a look at some of these public domain games. Wolfenstein 3D? Surely not. Oh my god. Are you serious? Someone's ported the demo. Oh, really? Oh my god. I'm going to have to play this. This is going to take me back. Okay. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours. after I've gotten my fill of Wolfenstein. Alright, well I guess we'll leave the video there. I've had a lot of fun with this. We've got this Sega MegaDrive 2 back in action. We got to use the FlashMaster game cartridge. We got to repair a couple of faulty gamepads, and I've had a great time playing these games, and I think I'm going to do a bit more of that. Still amazes me that these are public domain. Anyway, if you like this sort of content, please think about liking and subscribing to my channel, and I'll catch you on the next one. Ciao!